So I have a special guest. He doesn't show up that often, but this is my husband, if you don't already know. Awkward smile.
Yeah, I'm the guy in that labor and delivery video. Yeah.
So today's video is a little different than usual. Obviously I'm not on my own talking or chit-chatting. This video is actually interesting simply because if you don't already know, I know it's not like obvious by just looking at us. We are an interracial couple. So you want to just say a little bit about you and your background?
Yeah, so I'm what you call an Oreo. Oh, you alright?
I can't breathe. I wasn't expecting that. Like at all. I was expecting, oh, I'm black and white. That's straight up saying you're black on the outside, but you're white on the inside.
You know what? I wasn't putting it like that, but
that's how everyone takes it. That's why I was like, well, damn. He's not an Oreo. You're not an Oreo.
okay, then I'm like a zebra cake.
You're a zebra cake.
Yeah, I'm still a snack though.
Oh my god. Oh
You
my
leave
god.
that all in there.
Oh my god.
Woo!
Well, this is starting off nice. Alright.
So yeah, black and white, mom's white, dad's black. Yeah,
Yep.
that's kind of it.
And I am full Hispanic, Nicaraguan, and Puerto Rican, if I haven't already mentioned that before. And so I'm Islander mixed with like Central American, basically. And I believe being Nicaraguan and being Central American, that puts me with having some sort of a Native American kind of bloodline somewhere around there, supposedly. I don't know, but that's what they say. So we're pretty mixed in there. So basically this video is just, you know, typical questions that most people who are in interracial couples or relationships tend to get, and little struggles that we have to go through or maneuver around while simply raising our family and being in our relationship. So yeah,
Bringing a lot to the table. So it's interesting blending everything that, like I said, kind of bringing everything to the table. So yeah, you got a couple questions here. Just going
old
over.
school. I wrote it down on paper because if I were to put it on my phone, more than likely I'm just gonna be scrolling through and like getting confused, and I'm a hot mess. I'm 27 years old, but when it comes to technology, I'm pretty like old school. I really don't know much about it. So I'm literally like pen to paper kind of person, so.
Yeah.
All right, let me put this down. All right, so.
Okay.
All right, so I just got a few questions. We'll start with you on each one of them and just get our perspectives on each thing. Are there any cultural differences between us that we have to work through?
Cultural differences.
Yeah.
I don't think there are any huge cultural differences that we have to maneuver through, simply because we both align with the same perspective of family first, family bond strong. Yeah, I'm not looking at the camera. Yeah, so I don't think that there's too many things that are different between like what your standards are.
I disagree, actually.
Oh yeah?
I strongly disagree. Alex and I were raised very differently culturally. Culturally, you weren't raised with much culture. You were raised with American culture, which for the most part, from my understanding, is like hot dogs and burgers and, you know, just kind of hanging out from the TV. As compared to me, where I grew up with, a very, very strong family bond. And I'm talking about we all lived under the same roof and knew what everyone's business. And we were there for each other through thick and thin, but through started fights. And we were typical like Hispanic family. We're loud. We cooked all the time. We did parties all the time. And, it wasn't just, it wasn't the American culture. So I feel like the thing that we have to work through culturally is, granted, our family bond is family first. Like, you're
I guess the way we go about it, like
I
day to day.
I feel like day to day, like I talk to my mom like every single week, and it's sporadic. So culturally, like, it's not in me to like just leave my mom, like not hear from her for months, and for you, you're totally cool with it, So I think culturally, that's something that's completely different that we maneuver around, because even till this day, and we're almost about to hit 4 years, and with our marriage, we still talk about how like you need to put more time in with both families and stuff like that,
Right.
So that's a huge thing that we deal with within our relationship when it comes to culture, at least. So
I guess just like day to day, like how we go about the day, right? Am I understanding that right?
what?
So family interaction.
Family interaction. Spanish speaking is something that is a huge thing. You don't really talk to my family because you don't know the language. 4 years in.
So let me defend myself a bit. It's not a matter of not wanting to. It's just that it's kind of like what's the, not a really saying, but just I don't know, because I know words. It's just that it's hard putting them from like pen and paper to like out.
Well, absolutely, but you also don't try.
I mean,
Like, you also don't like you don't like put yourself into a conversation or even try to, and then you kind of just like say, oh well, because I don't know, I'm not even gonna try. And it's like, well, why don't you try and learn?
I just don't want to sound dumb, but
You're gonna sound
yeah.
dumb. Like,
So,
everyone sounds dumb. But
definitely,
like, how are you gonna learn?
definitely gotta work on that one.
When I was growing up, and this is like correction, they corrected me when I was like, it was probably like 4 or 5 years ago, but I learned that pata. All my life I thought pata was foot. You know what it is? A foot of a duck. BS. BS is a foot of a human person. You'd never stop learning. Pata, babe. Pata.
Yeah, and pato is a duck.
Yeah, it never occurred to me.
Yeah.
See?
So pato, pata.
Yeah, it didn't occur to me. Literally, Crystal to this day calls it patas. Like, we didn't know.
She all got duck feet.
We apparently had duck feet. So, alright, next question. Did you ever see yourself dating someone of a different race?
Why don't you go ahead and start?
Well, yeah, I've always dated someone from a different race. I've always dated white people. Since I can remember, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. In the Spanish culture, if they're not Hispanic already, you come to America and like the big thing is a white guy with blue eyes and all your dreams come true kind of a thing. And I grew up with that same thought process. And so if you look at my dating history, for the most part, it is a lot of white guys, and for the most part, it is blue eyes. And I've always had that mindset that would happen. But as I, and you know this, as I was in the relationships, I also encountered racism. And that's when it started occurring to me. I'm just like, what I want for my future, and to this day I'm trying to fight for it, what I want for my future is a guy who can communicate with my family and talk to my family without me having to translate. That's such a huge thing for me, because family legitimately, as cheesy as it sounds and as much as you may hear me say in this video, family is everything to me. So like, if you are struggling to communicate with my family, that's going to be an issue. So yeah. What about you?
Well, I've never had an issue dating outside my race. It's just who you are as a person that it ultimately comes down to for me. And you were everything I was looking for.
And what's
So-
that?
It's just perfect.
No, tell me.
What?
Detail.
Detail?
Yeah.
She's sarcastic, but she was smart. She was feisty, which is something I definitely enjoy. She can be very cocky and confident when she wants to be. But yeah, definitely have all the right things that I need. So yeah, it all comes down to the person. I mean, who cares about the color of your skin? So
I can see that.
yeah.
But I think that also comes down to the culture thing though. Because you grew up knowing that you were biracial. So color to you is just like, well, obviously two people can easily be together and make a child, you know?
Yeah.
But to me it was always like, every single one of my brothers and sisters, granted with the typical like, not everybody has the same father thing, but we all have Hispanic families, like Hispanic fathers, Hispanic mother and all that. So
Yeah.
we all grew up with the same thing. So I think that's also something that culturally was different, I guess, as we grew older. Or grew up or whatever.
Right.
All right. Did you have any stereotypes of the other person before you started dating them?
Yes, and when we were writing these questions down, I thought of one thing that she has proven kind of right and wrong, is that I used to think that you absolutely loved spicy food. Like, just like, no matter how hot it was, it's like, she's on it.
So what do you mean right and wrong?
Because you also go for spicy items, say at like Wendy's, or whenever we do go out to someplace like
Knowing it's gonna hurt.
knowing exactly what's gonna happen to her. So
But it's so good.
see, look, so I am right and wrong with the stereotype. So yeah, that was my thing. It was like, I was like, okay, well, she definitely likes spicy food. I think I remember that I was calling you from the store. I think I remember calling you from the store, and I'm
I
like,
think I know who you're gonna refer to.
and I was like, son, the spicy one. You're like, no. I'm like, yeah, but come on, all Hispanics like spicy food, and you're like, what? No.
That is such a pet peeve of mine. If you ever put those words together,
Something like that.
it's not gonna be pretty. All Hispanics what? Because we're all different. We're all different.
See, that was the
We're all
stereotype.
different. Don't try me with that one. I will go on a tangent.
So that was mine, was spicy food, which I'm like half right, half wrong.
Do you have any others when
No.
it came to me? No? The only, I wouldn't say a stereotype. You've actually changed. I don't even know what happened. So when you and I first met, you were the typical like, you had like this little like F-boy thing to you. Cause you would wear your hat, you know, your hats, and you would do those like in the what's it?
In the now.
In the now dance moves all the time. You're like Linda, and stuff like this, and I'll be like with my glasses trying to read a book. I'm just like, but the only I wouldn't say a stereotype, but the only thing that I thought was with you, but I was completely wrong. And this was judgment based off of your profile picture, because we did meet on Tinder, was I thought you were gonna speak Spanish because I thought you were Dominican. Again, I wanted a perfect little communication thing with my family, and lo and behold, you're black and white. I was like,
It's kind of like when you order something on Amazon and
it's not what you ordered, but you're okay with it.
okay with it.
I'm okay with it. You just gotta learn Spanish. All right, next question. Are you, I was about to say approval. Are you afraid of your kids being treated differently for being mixed?
Honestly, yes. Just because us as kids, we've had to deal with our adversities. I could name a few, but there's no point. I'm sure everyone of even a little of color has had their own experience with it. And just what you see in the news and just over the past several years, I mean, these are relevant things to think about. So it's always in the back of my mind when I think of the boys.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of how we get them to handle it and the situation we put them in.
Yeah.
That ultimately comes down to like what happens.
I think for me, because I agree, growing up, as much as I would like to think that this world and our society is so, what's the word? Not proving, accepting.
I guess progressive.
Accepting. I as much as I would hope and wish that our world and society is as accepting as I am about just about everyone and anything, I am afraid of raising our children, and because they don't fit in a perfect box, they're not accepted into any boxes. Does that make sense? What I mean by like,
so they don't like have
so
like
like-
a group to belong to.
yeah, like a full Hispanic person isn't gonna fully see them as Hispanic. That's why I'm working so hard on teaching them Spanish, because I'm just like, I don't want them to feel like they don't have a place to go.
Right.
Because I grew up with that. Growing up, I went to a ghetto school, and there was a typical, the white group and the Chinese group,
Yep.
and the typical stereotype thing. And I didn't fit in perfectly with the Hispanics, because at the time I didn't embrace my who I was. I've always grew up with the whole ideology of white people as always like superior. So I think I always grew up speaking a certain way and trying to present myself a certain way. So to the black people that I grew up with, they didn't really accept me. And with the Hispanics, I was too white for the Hispanics. And the white, I was too dark for the whites. And then the Asians, I wasn't smart enough to be with the Asians. So I was kind of just like a loner and kind of just floating. And I don't want that for them. I want them to just be like, this is me, and love me for who I am. And unfortunately, I'm realistically looking at things, and that's just not how it's gonna be. So I want them to have as many options to be able to choose
Right.
from.
So I agree. As definitely boys who definitely know Spanish. But yeah, I mean that's the kind of thing that kids run into, is like those social groups, the little cliques that you have. Sometimes it's just based off of race, sometimes it's off of wealth, it's off of like extracurriculars, all that kind of stuff.
Everything.
I mean, just like you dealt with it, I have my own, and I literally think about it a few times where it's like there'd be days where I try to like hang with one group, and it's like, well, I still mingle with some people in this group, but it's like, nah, well, if you're with them, then you're with them. I mean, sometimes you kind of get put in a box when it's not you saying that you're in that box.
I remember in high school, my box, as lame as it may sound, my box was ROTC, because it was such a mixture of people, and it was just people who had a very strong bond toward the military, and for the most part, the people I knew had broken homes, including myself, and we kind of just bonded through that. And we didn't look at color, we didn't look at race or gender or age, and it was just this is what bonds us, and that's what I like. And for the most part, if it wasn't for having that club to be part of, I would have nobody. And the fact of the matter is, like, we don't know where we're gonna end up with the boys, and I want them, if this high school that we are around, which it does exist because you went to this kind of school where they don't have sports and stuff like that, I want them to have the option of at the very least having like
Well, they had sports. It was just, I mean, you don't have like extended, or just like more than like the, I don't know how to word that. We had limited amount of sports, but
that's my point.
yeah, I know where you're
want them
getting
to
at.
have
Like
an abundance of options.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
Let me see. Okay. Are you raising your kids mainly like towards one culture or race than the other? Does that make sense?
I don't think so. Apart from them learning Spanish, I think just raising them to be decent human beings, to be sociable and friendly is what it comes down to. I mean, you can't say that one race is the only race that can be
Taught,
like,
I guess.
taught to be a certain way. like being friendly or like one race is like
superior than the other.
yeah, just it all comes down to the actual human. Like you can't just pin a race in one corner, and I mean that's how stereotypes come up. That's how generalizations come up.
I feel as much as I would like to agree with what you're saying, I am going to be completely honest. I think that, especially because they spend a lot more time with me than with you,
Mm-hmm.
they are naturally getting raised more in the Hispanic culture
Mm-hmm.
than in the white. I don't even know if white has a culture, to be honest with you. I don't know if that's gonna get me some shit, but I mean, I don't know. The only thing I know, I'll be completely honest, the only thing when it comes to white that I understand is European, and that's a culture, but not every white person is European. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, but that's why we actually talked about this a few days ago, where that's why I want you to teach them about Black history and Black culture, because it comes differently from you than it would from me, because I've never lived it, nor do I have it running through my blood.
Yeah.
To be able to teach it like sincerely, and you do. So it's not a matter of we're raising them purposefully just Hispanic. It's just a matter of I'm with them mostly, and that is my culture, and I would like for you to teach them more from your end.
Mm-hmm.
But that comes down to you and what you know and what you're willing to learn to teach them.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm definitely willing to teach them once I'm at the point where I can go more hands-on with it. Show them books, show them movies. Just, I mean, pop culture is definitely a big thing for us. So I agree. It's more of a Hispanic cultural raising at this moment.
At this moment.
So
as we get older, I'm sure that that's going to expand into, you know, your end of Black and white.
Mm-hmm.
But until then, and until you step into that role, I don't feel comfortable teaching them anything besides respect for the other cultures when I didn't live those cultures. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where I stand on that. Let's see. Do you communicate and feel more comfortable with someone of a different race?
You go first.
Yes and no. Like I said, I've never fit into a box. So like when I wouldn't say of a different race. No. So my answer is no. I wouldn't. If it isn't race related, I feel most comfortable with people who are honest and can communicate properly. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because I can speak to somebody like in the most professional way and have no problem speaking like that, because I do speak like that on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I feel completely comfortable also like getting down and dirty and talking crap and talking the way I spoke when I was younger and growing up, because that is how I grew up also. So it isn't a matter of like Black, white, Hispanic. I do know that with Hispanics, my accent comes out a little bit more, but other than that, I don't feel like more comfortable towards one. I will say, when it comes to comfortability, I do feel more comfortable with Hispanics than I do with, again, I'm sorry, with white people, just because of my past with ex-boyfriends,
yeah,
where I've experienced the racism, and I get really nervous, because even if I'm completely myself and speak the way I do, and I present myself the way I do,
it's still in the back of your head.
I still feel like they're judging me, like, oh, she's being fake, or she's acting like someone that she isn't just because I'm here. And I'm just like, no, this isn't me. But I'm never, that sounds awful, but like I feel like I'm never going to be accepted by them no matter what I do, kind of a thing. Yeah. What about you? Do you remember the question?
Yeah, I was literally thinking that. It's like, yeah. I mean, same kind of scenario. Just, well, not the exact same. Just when you don't belong to one particular group, you learn to be comfortable with any group.
Yeah.
So, being the mixing pot of several backgrounds. I mean, being an Army brat, I've moved several times. I've gone from the Northeast to the Southwest to Central, and I mean, you can pinpoint me at any like geographical location on the United States, and then even in Europe when I was in Germany. So you learn. It's not a brag. I mean, but like you learn how that
to blend, I guess.
Yes. So that's definitely something that I had to deal with, was like adapting to the way that people handle things up there.
Yeah.
And then
So how to communicate, you mean?
Yeah, just to be. What's the Trevor Noah actually said something that's pretty similar to what I had to deal with, was becoming a chameleon. So where you can like blend into any situation. So that was me.
That being said, if you're able to communicate with different groups, do you feel comfortable with every group then, or do you feel?
There is no group that I don't feel comfortable with. I mean, as long as you
doing your eyebrow thing.
Is that it? I mean, I feel comfortable with any group. I mean, as long as we're respectful. I'm real rigid in the beginning, and sometimes it takes me a minute to like crack open. But like once I get past that, then it's like I can talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So I have no issue with any other group. So I can definitely say I'm comfortable with any.
All right. Let's see. Did your cultural background, i.e. family, affect which race you may or may not have dated/married?
No. No. So exes. I've dated white girls. I've dated black girls. I've dated Hispanic girls. I've had flings with Asians. I mean, I've had no. I have no preference other than just a woman that respects me, loves me, and is honest to me, and that's literally what I found. Like I said in the first question. First question? I think it was the first question.
I think it was the first question.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't see color in that aspect. So, yeah, and I wouldn't say that like my family had anything to do with it. It's like, I think for my mom, it was exactly just that. It's like as long as they treat me right, that's all she ever cared about. So, yeah.
I think every mom is like that.
Usually comes down to that.
Yeah.
So.
Usually. I've read
there's
some crazy stuff out there. I feel bad for y'all.
There's some, yeah.
For me, let's see. Did your cultural background family affect which race you may or may not have? How would I word that? Yes and no. For me, and you know this about me, I've always been an advocate for not being racist. I mean, I feel like that's such a stupid comment, because how can you be an advocate for something that's so common sense to me? Like, just don't be racist. Like, it's so like easy, just don't be a racist, you know what I mean? But that being said, in the Hispanic culture, for the most part, blacks, darker skinned, I don't even want to just say blacks, because I'm considered, you know, I'm considered more on the black side when it comes to Hispanics. It's frowned upon and treated differently. And I think because I am the darkest one in my family, I am such an advocate for, you know, just because it's darker skin doesn't make anyone else more superior, more worthy of anything than anyone else. And that bothers me when people think that. That being said, my mom, I love my mom. I have no problem standing up to my mom, make that very clear. She was raised in an era where you know, is like, for some reason, like, black people are inferior. And she has made comments in the past where I would never allow, and I never did allow, and I've gotten into fights with her and arguments about it, and I've done the whole shebang because I grew up believing otherwise. Like, you don't do that. And growing up, like I said, I did steer more towards white guys naturally. I mean, I guess because of the way I spoke, they were also naturally navigated towards me.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
So, do you think that you brought home more white guys because it would be easier to introduce?
I was about to say that is, I think that, because granted, like, I have dated black guys, but not to the extent that I did the white exes. Like, I'm talking about, like, I dated, I think at least 2 or 3 black guys within, like, my middle school to high school period.
Mm.
But it was a matter of, like, 2 weeks, and I think it's simply because I was the kind of person that I like bringing home the guys that I met, so that my mom can meet them, my family can meet them, and we can all just be comfortable. My thing has always been family, and I feel like I could never bring them because I wouldn't want to put anybody in that position of feeling uncomfortable. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I know I would feel uncomfortable knowing how my mom feels, and I'm not the kind of person to lie, and I wouldn't want them to feel uncomfortable either.
Right.
So it wouldn't be right for me to put everybody in an uncomfortable position or a situation that I would rather just not deal with it at all. So I feel like I never gave anybody of a darker tone any true chance. And I feel like the only time I really would have given it a chance is if they spoke Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that actually comes up to you where, you know, I fell in love with you for you, and I'm willing to deal with the lack of Spanish and having to do the whole communicating thing, although I would prefer it be different. But that is something that I did worry in the beginning, and I'm not sure if I ever told you that, where it's like, he can pass as Dominican, but he doesn't speak Spanish, and obviously I'm not going to lie about who you are. So I was always kind of like worried about how she would react to it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, so what was the question? Did it affect? Yeah, for me it did affect a lot. Like, that's something that was always in the back of my mind. Yeah. All right. Do you think cultural barriers between relationships affect a person's decision to engage in the relationship or not? So this is general. This is a general question. Say it out loud.
Do you think cultural barriers between relationships affect a person's decision to engage in the relationship or not?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
There's some times where it's like, I mean, you could have easily been like speak Spanish or I'm out.
Yeah.
I mean, that literally could have been.
And I feel like, honestly, there's a lot of people out there who do that. I feel like there's a lot of people who, similarly to me, how I was younger, are like, I would love to date somebody. Like, I know that there's so many people out there who have such strong connections,
Mm-hmm.
and they break it off because they don't have that connection with the family, and that family aspect is so important that it's like, you know what, I can't, like, people want the families to come together, not create a division.
Yeah.
So if there's going to be a division, for the most part, nobody wants to deal with them. They just cut it off right then and there,
Yeah.
with or without the connection. And that's what sucks. Like, there's so many people out there who are afraid to love who they love simply because of gender, age, or race, and it's just ridiculous, to be honest.
And that's just part of it.
It's sad.
I mean,
It's sad.
I mean, you'll see it anywhere you go. I mean, some people won't date outside their race just because of just that.
Society, what's sad.
Yeah. So, yeah. 2 seconds. I'm about to shut off.
Babe, we're about to finish.
Okay.
All right, next question. Sorry, I burped. Looking back when you were a teen, do you feel you had more friends of the same race? So growing up, did you have more
I
friends
think-
of the same race?
I think wherever I was at, I just happened to have more white friends.
Okay. Just happen to have it. That's
But I did have, when I went to college, it was a dominant, or what's the word? A majority,
Predominant.
it was a
predominantly.
predominantly African American college. So everybody I was friends with was African American. So
How do you feel about that real quick? Real quick, this is a side question. How do you feel about that?
what?
The word African American compared to black people? Because I know a lot of
I
black
have no
people-
issue with African American or black people. It gets a little rigid when it's like blacks, because I think of the past when that was used derogatively.
See, I get that. I completely get that. But then I've also encountered and seen where black people themselves are just like, I'm not African. Like, I'm not from Africa. So don't call me African American. So I'm just like, so, you know what I mean? I've never, like, that's hard. That's really hard. I think it's just a preference.
I mean,
thing.
maybe it's something that I have a lack of understanding with, because I wasn't raised in that environment.
Culture.
So for all I know, that there's a difference that I'm completely missing. But
I think it's similar to the whole, like, don't call me Puerto Rican if I'm not Puerto Rican, don't call me Dominican if I'm not Dominican.
Well, I get-
Mexican, you know, Cuban, all that, Colombian.
yeah,
So I think it's similar to that, which, like, don't call me something I'm not. But it's hard because there's no kind of like, you know, with the Hispanics, we have a general, you know, you're either Hispanic or you're all Latin, but, you know, within that, there's like little circles, I guess. But, like, that isn't really the case with,
yeah.
you know. So that's why I just say black, because I've been corrected before where I'm just like, where they're just like, I'm not African, I'm not from Africa, so don't say I'm from there. And I'm just like,
I don't know.
you know,
That's
it's
something
hard.
that's gone over my head. But back to the situation. So when I was in college, I mean, it
You're
was,
speaking.
yeah. So when I was in college, it was
You're gonna make
predominantly.
editing so hard.
It's not gonna be that.
Dude, you're speaking to me and like.
It's tough because, yeah. So, yeah, it was a predominantly black college, and majority of my friends were black. I mean, it's just, see, now I'm going back and forth with African American and black. Now you got me like socially conscious here. And then like I had a few other friends, but I mean, it's like I said, it's always come down to just who the person was
Yeah.
and who I clicked with. I mean, I pretty much click with anybody over anything. So like, there's video games, there's sports. Just there was a time where I would enjoy going to a party, believe it or not. Skateboarding was a thing when I was young teen. I mean, I've had no issue getting along with people.
With anybody.
So that's just what I've been able to experience and what I've been able to adapt to. So I wouldn't say, I think it was just where I was at in the time and what was like given to me. So what about you?
For me, I think what took a big part in me and my friendships is like where I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
So I was born and raised in Orlando, Florida. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that. And there you'd literally have like anyone and everyone, like literally any background you can imagine. So I've had Hispanic friends, Indian friends, Asian friends, black friends, white friends, all of the above, you know. To this day I'm friends with a lady who was actually the aunt of a friend of mine. So she was like 20 plus years of my senior. And I was still like really close friends with her. So like I don't have boundaries when it comes to friendships. My difficulty has always been like when it comes to race is I've always wanted to feel like, as cheesy as it sounds, like I belonged. So it was hard because I grew up with mostly black people from elementary school and middle school.
Mm-hmm.
So I naturally had that bond towards like the music and the dancing, and my friends growing up were that. But like once high school came along, I was transferred to a predominantly white school, and I felt comfortable there also because the way I spoke and the way I was always raised of, oh, white people are, you know, that's what you want to grow up being surrounded by and things like that. So like I fit in there somewhat, but I was always like hesitant, you know, for the obvious. And once I got to like 11th grade, I started kind of just going haywire. I'll be honest, I had some difficulties in high school, and oddly enough, it was my Hispanic friend for the most part from middle school, the very few that there were, who kind of held me down. And they were just like, and that's when I started noticing the whole cultural thing where it's like, whether we're blood family or not, you know, we got each other's back kind of a thing. And that, I think that's what solidified it in my head, where it's like, you know what, I really want this for my future. And to this day, I'm mostly, if at all, just mostly friends with those people than I am with anyone else that I've known since I was like in elementary school, because of the fact that, you know, they were there when I was having rough patches rather than just my good times, or when I was you know, willing to be the good friend to present to the families and stuff like that. So I feel like I did have a mix of friends, but the main group that I would hang out with was predominantly Hispanic. So I think that's probably why I am also so adamant on the Hispanic thing, because it's just a comfortability thing for me.
Okay.
You know, I can be myself. I can talk about my family, my mom, everything, and they just understand. Compared to some other cultures where they don't have that same kind of like attachment to their families like that. I've noticed at least. That's where I stand on that.
Yeah.
Those are all the questions I've got. If you guys have any more, I'm willing, I guess, maybe, possibly, I don't know, to look at the comments for this video and see if there's any other questions. You guys know I tend to not look at comments. I am a pretty sensitive person, even if it may not come off so much. So I choose not to look at comments like ever. I don't look back on my videos. I don't, you know, I put it up and it's up, and I don't have time to criticize myself or judge myself or let anybody's criticisms or judgments hit me. So yeah, this one I may or may not.
Keep it respectful, I guess, if you guys have anything.
If you have any more questions, I mean, we're willing to do, I guess, another one of these videos. If you're curious or whatever about our relationship, our family, or again, our racial backgrounds or our backgrounds in general, just hit us up and we'll see if I'll make another video.
And you know, I enjoyed having this little thing. I remember like one of the first videos you put on the channel was a little questionnaire.
A long time ago. That was
long
like 2
time
years
ago. Yeah, we are not the same.
I had short ass hair.
Something with your bob.
That was not a good look for me. It really wasn't.
Yeah, so if you guys have any other topics, I'm sure we would have no issue going over those too.
Yeah, it's just a timing thing, you know, being parents and all.
Ignore that.
All right, thank you guys for watching, and till next time.